there's a kind of magic to making memories, to finding time for the little things and the big things, the new things, and the things you'll do over and over again. It's the magic of a job well done and a well-deserved day of rest, of living life to the fullest with the people you'd never want to live without. Fairway, closed on Sunday, open for life.
Iowa Fireworks Farm is Iowa's largest fireworks store. 6,000 square feet of hand-picked fireworks, over 50 brands and 1,300 different products to choose from. But they're also family-owned and operated. Iowa Fireworks Farm is the one stop you need to make before July 4th. You'll find them just south of the Metro. Take I-35 to exit 43 at New Virginia. Head east and look for the Big Red Barn. At Iowa Fireworks Farm, the toughest part will be deciding what not to buy.
Jason Aldean, Full Throttle Tour 2025, powered by Patriot Mobile. When the lights come on. Friday, September 19th, Wells Fargo Arena. With Nate Smith. You set my world on fire. And Ray Lynn. Jason Aldean. On sale now at iowaeventcenter.com. Jason Aldean Live.
Two guys, two Chris's, one network. Iowa Everywhere. It's time for Two Guys with Chris Williams and Chris Hassel. Presented by Fairway Meat and Grocery from the Channel Seed Studios. Where? Everywhere. Live and always on demand at Iowa Everywhere.
What is up? We are, man, what a deal this morning. Sorry we weren't live. For those of you who wanted to hang out with us, there's a reason. Hopefully you can't see too much, but sometimes, technology, you do your best. And our streaming platform that we subscribe to and use was having glitches this morning and didn't allow us to go live. We were not the only people who were impacted by this. You probably saw shows all over the country who had this same problem today because we use the world's most popular streaming platform. So, yeah, that's why we're actually recording this on Zoom. Van Winkle's going to make it look as nice and pretty for you guys and get it up all over YouTube. And, of course, the podcast shouldn't really be impacted by this at all. So we are presented by Fairway Meat and Grocery. How are you today, Hassel? Doing okay?
I'm good. Yeah, haven't tried out the skinless brats yet, but I'm going to dive into those at some point.
That sounds like a U.S. Open weekend treat.
Oh, yeah. The U.S. Open underway at Oakmont. I'm going to go long on that a little bit later in our chaos program. I think we'll have to have a little bit of an abbreviated show today because you've got a meeting to get to, and we were screwing around with StreamYard for 30 minutes.
Man, what a pain. What a pain.
I've got good news.
Okay.
I put the mirror back on my car. The mirror is attached. It's all good. I ordered those mirrors, the passenger side mirror, and just like Kelderman said, just had some double-sided tape on it, slapped it right on there, good to go.
That's fascinating to me. I'm glad it was easy, but you would think like a car like that would be a little more sophisticated,
Yeah, I thought I thought that the glass was like built-in part of the whole shebang, right? I didn't think they built like the holder for the mirror and then the glass was just slapped on with glue. But
wild.
It's back, baby.
He's back, baby.
Took me 1 minute.
We are presented as always by Fairway Meat and Grocery. We are in the Channel Seed Studios with a bunch to get to today. We actually have a pretty full show considering where we're at in the sports calendar. Is some new stuff on this rev share with Iowa and Iowa State. We'll get to that. Scott Docterman wrote a really good piece. Thank you for sending me this. I don't know how I missed this. This is one of my favorite things Doc has done in a long time for The Athletic. The 25 most impactful stories of the last 25 years in college football, which is right in this show's wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got our three ready. And then Tyrese Haliburton and the Indiana Pacers continue to kind of shock everybody. We'll see if they can keep it up, but they're up 2-1 after last.
I might as well start there.
Yeah.
Because this kind of goes to a conversation we had on Monday's show. Is he a superstar? Well, in my mind, he's getting closer. Like I said, if he pulls this off, this would be one of the biggest long shots to ever win a major sports title. Pacers were, what were they, 50-1, I think, going into the season to win the NBA championship.
Jeez.
And now they are 2 wins away. Haliburton was 1 rebound away from a triple-double. He showed up. Like, he was there start to finish, and then it was a great finish in the fourth quarter by Indiana to take a 2-1 series lead. And I was reading from an article at CBSSports.com that I think in NBA finals that are tied at a game apiece, the game 3 winner goes on to win over 80% of the time. So the Pacers, despite the fact that they were huge underdogs in this series, one of the biggest underdogs in finals history, they are in the driver's seat now to win an improbable NBA championship. And if that happens, and if Haliburton is the MVP, I think he might vault to superstar status right then.
What was he, 1 rebound away from a triple-double last night? I mean, and he's the guy, like, that. Almost more important. Again, I think we may define superstar a little bit differently in our heads, but that's okay. Like, when the team, he's the guy who, you pull over for the interview. Like, he's always the guy. And he's a likable guy, right? Like, I just think that he's going to get so many endorsements and stuff out of this. We'll see. The other issue is that not a lot of people are watching these games. So it's like, how much it would have been way better for him if he was playing the Lakers.
Now. You're right. I think he got a bump, though, because of what happened with the Knicks.
Totally agree. And he's had all these, like, Instagram moments, right?
And his dad, the whole dad thing kind of plays into it.
Which is just so small world, because John Haliburton was a fixture in Ames for 2 years. Like, and he hasn't changed a bit. He would be roaming the sidelines prior to Iowa State games. But, like, even when Tyrese was a freshman, there was some drama, if you remember his freshman year, because Iowa State had a guy named Lindell Wigginton, who was like a highly touted recruit. It's a big deal when Prom got him. He was a really good player. Played some in the pros. And Wigginton had like I want to say like an ankle injury or whatever. And they put this Haliburton kid in who, from what I understand, that at one point they had thought about redshirting him even because he was so skinny and just needed time, but they really liked him. And it was just obvious, like, the second they put him in, like, he's really freaking good. Like, but he wasn't very assertive, which we've seen that, like, carry on in the pros a little bit, where Tyrese constantly was like, because he was so nice, he was passing up shots, he was giving THT more looks. Think about that, Taylor Horton Tucker and him are in the same freshman class. But it was kind of like a controversy because Wigginton is supposed to be the star. And then all of a sudden you put in this Haliburton. It was a Friday night game. I want to say they played like Missouri or Colorado. It was an old Big 8 team, I remember. And it was like, holy shit, like, he hit a corner 3 and you're just like, well, that looked like different. Like that, And throughout all of this, like, because we didn't know him yet. And he has this dad, this like little guy who's just constantly dapping people up and just walking around, like, giving people hugs, and like he hasn't changed a bit. So, like, that's when that thing with Giannis happened. Like, it didn't really surprise me that much because that's just John. And I also, whatever he said to Giannis, like, my guess is that John was like screwing around, but Giannis was not in the mood to be doing that. Like, so that part has been, from a local standpoint, from who's known this guy for a long time, like, it's fun to watch. Even like the post-game reporters are asking about John Haliburton after the game. It's kind of like you and your dad.
And I want to correct myself. I said it was like 50-1 to start the season. It was 66-1 to start the season. And get this, going into the postseason, the odds were even longer. They were 80-1. Wow. Entering the playoffs.
That is
80-1. And now they're 2 wins away. So this would be the longest long shot to win a major sports title since the 03 Florida Marlins.
Wow. Good pull.
The one that the team that beat that was the Bartman team. The team that got to the World Series, past the Cubs in 7 games, and then beat the Yankees.
Speaking of long shots, last night's leading scorer, Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah.
Was a plus 14,000 on DraftKings to be the leading scorer in that game.
Yeah,
our friend Tim Murray over at VSiN sent me that late last night.
And this is how the NBA is changing right now, and the Pacers and Oklahoma City, that they've kind of showed the blueprint for this. The days of the big 3 are over. Teams are now going to build with depth. It used to be get your big 2 or 3 and then fill out the rest with role players. Now it's have one really good player. Your Tyrese Haliburton for the Pacers, your SGA for the Thunder. Call him a superstar if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Build a bunch of depth around them and go 8, 9 deep on the bench with really good players. That's what these teams have done, and that's what teams are going to look to do in the future.
Well, this will make me more interested in the NBA if this is the trend, because I think while I cared about like when LeBron and D-Wade, like when they did the super team thing, really it wasn't the first super team. I mean, I feel like the Bulls may have been the first to do that when they went out and got Rodman, and maybe not. I mean, they already were pretty established, but the Lakers,
Lakers tried to do it when
Gary
they brought
Payton.
in Karl Malone.
Yeah.
And that didn't work.
No, because they were all too old.
Yeah.
Like they weren't getting these guys anywhere near their prime. But it was interesting because it was different. But then it just got to the point where, I mean, I am a very loose Bulls fan, but I wouldn't even say I am anymore. I didn't watch a single game this year. I don't follow them. But I'm a 90s era Bulls fan. When Fred went there, it kind of reinvigorated me a little bit. And then that just ended so poorly that I don't really care anymore. I would say I'm a Pacers fan right now just because of Tyrese, and I'm just watching it. And I root for wherever Niang is. But like as a Bulls fan, I was kind of like, well, this sucks. Like, even if we get good players, they can just decide they want to go play with their buddies and take the
and for whatever reason, even though it was Chicago and it was the Bulls, nobody wanted to come. Like they couldn't get anybody. They couldn't get the Dwayne Wade. They couldn't get the LeBron James. And
it's just these guys are they want to go and team up in like a warm weather climate where they can have a beach.
But now, I mean, you've got Jokic is the best player in the NBA right now. He's in Denver. Now he's not like, the sexiest superstar.
No.
Giannis is in Milwaukee, though that could be changing. Wemby is in San Antonio. So you've got, Halliburton's in Indianapolis. SGA is in Oklahoma City. So yeah, you're spreading around the wealth.
And then you got like teams like the Knicks who I wouldn't even say they have like a megastar. They're just a good team.
There's no superstar on that team.
Yeah. Well,
Jalen Brunson's really, really, really good. He's a star. He's not a superstar.
For the sake of drama, I want the Pacers to win this. For the sake of drama, let's get the Pacers up 3-1. Let's have the Thunder come back and make this really interesting. And the whole storyline is, Pacers are going to choke, and let's go to a game 7 and let's make this as like dramatic as humanly possible.
And then the Thunder will win, and SGA will go up to Haliburton with the choke sign.
Oh. You know what? I actually have my Tyrese Haliburton jersey laying around here somewhere, and I had thought about wearing it on today's show.
Yeah, you wore that in Vegas a couple years ago.
I did. Yeah, but I just decided not, because I have a meeting after this, and I'm like, that'd be weird going on to a meeting with an NBA jersey. You mentioned the 90s Bulls, and it just got me thinking nostalgic
like 80s, 90s stuff. I want to give you credit. I started the Dale Earnhardt doc last night.
Nice.
And it was like I couldn't stop it. I watched the first
Thank
two
you.
episodes.
It's so good,
it's
isn't
great.
it?
Yeah, it's great. I highly recommend. Highly recommend.
Keith and Andy were talking about this yesterday, and I really appreciated it or Keith was. Andy hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's on Prime, by the way, if you're looking for it.
But it's so real. Like,
yeah.
The impressive part to me is that Dale Jr.'s production company is the one who pushed this thing out. Okay. And I love Dale Jr.'s podcast network. I listen to him every week. It's just really, really informative if you're a NASCAR fan, but he's very authentic about, like, he always pays homage to, like, the sport that I grew up loving, not necessarily the one that exists now. He has a lot of old time guys on, whatever. And, like, this does not paint his dad in the best picture. Half the doc is about how he was kind of like a not deadbeat, but, like, you know, at one point
all he cared about was racing.
Yeah.
He didn't have time for family. He didn't have time for his kids, and he had a bastard boy.
Yeah.
They came back and found him when he was like 16 years old.
And they didn't. Yeah, and, like, I've always wondered about that. Like, why does Dale Jr. get all these headlines? What happened to that other Earnhardt? I always wondered that, and, like, it tackles all that within this. And then, like, the part that was just crazy to me, and I couldn't believe it was real, is that he just sent his son and daughter off to boarding school or to military school because he basically didn't want to deal with them anymore. He needed to put that time into racing.
Horrible.
And then he would just, like, let them come back every now and then and take them to a race, but they had to wear their uniforms. And, like, it was just. And then the footage of the old. See, I'm a sucker, man. Like, my nostalgia, my pastime is Dick Trickle smoking a cigarette in a 1989, Chevy. Like, that is what I grew up with. Like, those were my heroes growing up. Like, some people were Jordan, mine was Bill Elliott and Dale Earnhardt, right? Like, so, like, the footage that they have of these old, like, garage, like, testing sessions at Daytona from, like, the 1980s, and you can tell it's like a camcorder bouncing around. Like, oh my. Dale Jr. was saying that he hadn't even seen a lot of the, like, home videos and stuff of his dad. Yeah, like his dad, Neil Bonnet. Have you got to the Neil Bonnet stuff yet?
Yeah, just finished the Neil Bonnet episode.
Yeah, so, like, Dale Jr.
Did you just crack a beer?
Red Bull. I wish. Yeah, but he hadn't even seen, like, a lot of these videos of his dad just, like, hanging out with his friends and stuff like that. So I'm glad you watched it. Like, I'm glad that I didn't overhype it.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
All right, two guys, Chris and Chris, Iowa Everywhere, presented by Fairway. Again, sorry we don't have your live comments today. We really appreciate and like that aspect of the show.
Yeah, we do.
Sometimes just you gotta roll with the flow. I want to say we're presented by our friends at Game Day Men's Health. I had a situation last night where I'm sitting there and I'm doing this dance thing for my daughters, right? Where I'm gonna be on the big stage on Sunday where I'm dancing. Do you ever just look around and analyze in your head testosterone levels from different men in the room?
No.
God, I find myself doing it everywhere. I'm like, that guy needs some tea.
I had never even thought about testosterone.
That guy's probably good.
Game day.
Yeah, I hadn't either. But I seriously, I find myself analyzing people's testosterone levels. It's so unfair. I'm just judging them based on.
You know what you should have done? You should have gone down to the Pride Parade over the weekend and analyzed all the gay guys' testosterone levels, and then report back.
Was that in Des Moines?
Think so. Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed that.
I'm sure. I think Downs and Van Woke. Did you go?
Were you there, Van Woke?
Pride Fest?
No, I didn't make it down to Pride. I wish I could have, though. Looked like a good time.
I have done it once, and it was fun. I had a good time. The time that I went to it, yeah.
There's some great gay bars in the East Village.
It's a party. I was Kyle Long, former All-Pro offensive lineman for the Bears, talking to him on Monday, just shooting the shit. I don't know how this came up, but he's like, yeah, I went to this bar once and it was karaoke night. And I went up there, I started singing, and I've never had so many people be so nice to me and pump me up. And he's like, then I realized it was a gay bar.
Yeah.
And
really
then I
nice.
went back 5 more times. And I just always feel so good about myself when I go in there because they love me.
Yeah. I went to a gay bar this year in Milwaukee for the NCAA tournament. Didn't know it was a gay bar. And then I saw a really graphic moment of these two men about 45 minutes. I figured it out. But I stayed. Travis Hines and I were there from the Des Moines Register, just hanging out.
What was the graphic moment that you
The guys started making out right next to us, which is fine. It didn't bother me. But then one of them was like groping the other one. And they just did it right out in the open.
So like they were giving each other handies right next to you?
Over the pants. But yes.
Is that the same night you met DMX?
No, a different night, but I was at a gay bar that night too.
Yeah,
they
I
were
was gonna say.
dry rubbing right in front of you at
I
the
was
bar?
also with Travis Hines. Hines is gonna love that. No, I'm like, it was wild, but it was a great night. We had nice people in Milwaukee. Fat Daddies, Fat Tuesdays, whatever that.
Fat Daddies? That sounds like it could be a gay bar.
Yeah. Well, we just wanted to watch the games. Like we were watching the Drake game there, the first round of the Drake game, and like, anyways.
Speaking of Hines, by the way, those pictures that Overthinking brought up the other day, where you guys have like crazy facial hair.
Oh yeah, Williams looked like Hines.
Williams looked like Hines, and Hassel looked like you could probably fit in at like Blazing Saddles in East Village. I mean, real dive
Hassel
bar.
looks like Jesus.
Yeah, I did look like Jesus Christ.
Let's do a little bit on this revenue sharing thing. I made a few calls yesterday. Hassel and I are just very curious on how this looks for our state. And thanks to Keith for setting me up with his friend and now my friend Nate Bolton, the former Iowa senator.
Yeah, that was a good CW pod.
Thank you. Yeah, he was awesome. Like the whole idea behind that was to dumb it down for me, because like I tend to this stuff. I will overthink it. And so if I'm doing it, then I'm not doing a very good job of portraying it to our audience. So I wanted to get somebody to like, who really, really, truly understands the legal aspect of it, to put it in layman terms. And I thought that Nate did a really good job with that. So if you guys are interested in that and like where he thinks this is going, you can go and listen to this week's CW pod. I believe it was posted on Tuesday afternoon, but I thought it was super insightful. But so Iowa has put out press releases, and they are now promoting what's called Flight, which is a new, I mean, it feels like another booster club. Like, I don't know. How would you describe it?
Well, here's what it is. And I don't know if a lot of fans understand this. And I don't think I like it. And I'm not just picking on Iowa, because I'm sure Iowa State's going to do it. And I'm sure a bunch of other schools are going to do it too.
Iowa is just the first in our market to do it. That's what we're doing here.
So this whole thing with the settlement is supposed to be, well, now schools can share up to $20.5 million of their revenue with athletes. Well, schools don't want to share all of that with the athletes. They are going to ask fans. Some schools, like Iowa, like I'm sure Iowa State, are going to ask fans to help fund the athletic department. And basically what you're doing is now, instead of sending your money to a collective where the collective then gives it to the players, now you send it to the athletic department, and the athletic department will give it to the players.
Correct.
They are asking for money so that they don't have to pay the full $20.5 million. They're asking you, and you can say, I want this to go to football, I want this to go to men's basketball, I want this to go to women's basketball, or I want this to go to wrestling. Those are the 4 sports. So if you send, let's just say a big donor wants to give a lot of money, $500,000 gives to flight funds to go to the football team. Mm-hmm. Boom, right there, the athletic department just cut $500,000 off what they were going to have to max out.
Saved
Now they're down to 20
money. Yeah.
And I don't like that. Now, maybe Iowa isn't in as great a financial shape as we thought. I mean, they make so much money off of TV. This is the Big Ten we're talking about. This isn't. I figured Iowa State would do something like this.
So I did a little investigating. And this is what I found out. It's public records.
And can I just say before you get into that, Iowa is going to hit that number no matter what. Okay.
Yeah.
Even if fans don't give a dime to the flight funds.
Oh, I see.
Iowa is still going to pay $20.5 million and max out.
Mm-hmm.
They're just looking for help from the fans.
Absolutely. So, because I saw this, and my first reaction, and Chris and I actually talked on the phone when this came out because we were just talking through this. And my first reaction to this was, man, like, if I remember correctly, Iowa had like a bunch of debt after COVID, and they had like some of those lawsuits, right? Like there was just stuff going on, like facilities, whatever. Not all bad stuff, just athletic department stuff. And because it really, I mean, UCLA was in a terrible debt spot. Arizona was in a spot before they got bailed out by their state. There's a lot of like, not alone here. And I was like, I wonder if Iowa's not in good of shape as we thought. And I did a little digging yesterday, made some texts, did some database work. So what's interesting to me, and this is, I remember Ohio State, it was Gene Smith, and it was a podcast, or he had like a one-on-one with somebody, and he kind of outlined this. This was like 3 years ago when they were just talking about the concept of rev sharing. And he was like, he was talking about how expensive it is to run their athletic department because they have so many sports. Where Iowa State is like Iowa State is like one sport over the limit to still be D1. Like they have done that on purpose over the last 30 years. It's why they cut baseball. It's why, like, this is a long time, because Iowa State has always had a financial problem. Like this isn't, this is why I'm not like panicked as an Iowa State fan, because it's like they've always been the underdog financially, and we've always still been fans and gone to Jack Trice Stadium and done all that stuff. But it was pointed out to me by multiple people yesterday that Iowa's budget for like the upcoming year is somewhere around $175 million, like the athletic department budget. Iowa State's is around 140. So to me, let's just dumb it down really simply for anyone out there. If you make $100,000 a year and your neighbor across the street makes $75,000 a year, so that's your budget, right? Like you can spend that 100,000 however you want. That's 75 however you want. Let's say your neighbor who makes 100,000 has a $400,000 house that he has to pay for. You make $75,000, but you have a $100,000 house that you have to pay for. You're still going to be wealthier in the end, right? So the point is not that Iowa State's going to be wealthier. Iowa's making a lot more, but they also have to spend, approximately $30 to $40 million more to fund their athletic department. Just, with the rev share, paying your coaches, paying the scholarships, all that stuff. So it seems to me, again, like I'm trying to figure out why are they still asking.
So you're
fans
saying
for money.
Iowa State might be a little bit leaner than Iowa?
They definitely are leaner, but they don't have the money coming in like Iowa does too. So they have like Iowa, again, like to me, and I admittedly have thought about this through an Iowa State lens more than I have Iowa. As an Iowa State guy, I'm like, well, man, Iowa's rich. They make $50 million a year or $60 million a year, whatever it is from the Big Ten. They also have to spend a lot more. And this has kind of been our point when you're comparing Iowa to Ohio State and Iowa to Michigan. And like, this is why, like, we've seen some stuff on Twitter about like, oh, well, everybody's spending $20 million now. No. Like, that's not how this is like really going to go.
It's not all of a sudden a level playing field.
Correct. Like there's still a massive difference in like these budgets and all that stuff that you have to factor in here. But I just wanted to point that out. Like, I'm not saying Iowa State's in a better financial spot. They're not. I would rather have all that money coming in and then I can decide what to do with it. Iowa will likely cut sports, I would think. If I'm the Iowa athletic director, I'm really looking into how can I trim some of this down so we can put it into football, men's and women's basketball, and potentially wrestling if they're not all out on their own doing whatever. So there you go. Very long-winded, but I hope that helps.
About that debt that the Iowa athletic department put itself in when they borrowed, what was it, $50 million from the university during COVID. So I asked Scott Docterman, who's really up on all that stuff, where the athletic department is at. And he said, technically, yeah, okay, they borrowed that money, but they are paying that out over a 15-year period. So it's not like they've got this huge number hanging over them that they've got to like pay now. No, they are paying the $50 million over 15 years. The lawsuit that Gary Barta was involved in, they paid that out right away, whenever that was, 8 years ago. But they make a lot. He said Iowa made $173 million last year. And you mentioned the difference in revenue, or I'm sorry, in budget between Iowa and Iowa State. Yeah, Iowa's budget is more. They spend more, but Iowa, according to Docterman, made $60 million more than Iowa State.
I believe it. Yeah, I mean, that's the Big Ten television package alone right there. Like,
so you made $173 million. Why are you still asking fans to help hit this $20.5 million threshold? Like that doesn't sit right with me. And
here's
again,
the problem.
It's not just Iowa that's going to do this.
It's going to be all over the country. Here's the problem too, is, again, I've said this a million times. College athletics doesn't have a revenue problem. It's always had a spending problem. And throughout its entire existence. Like some of these facilities.
And right there. So that is the why. I get why they're doing it, because they want to be able to, if we can get $5 million from fans, then we can use that. And because we're redoing the baseball field, and that's a few $1 million. We want to redo Carver Hawkeye Arena. So they want fans to help foot this bill for the players so that they can use this money in
and they
other
don't
improvements.
Want to cut sports.
No.
Like, no athletic director wants to lay people off and cut scholarships. Like, no, I truly don't believe any of these administrators got into this because they wanted to be sharks. Here's the problem. Because right now they will tell you, anybody in this industry, is they're in a tough spot because this is like there's a light bulb that just flipped on overnight. We've never paid the workforce. Well, now we have to pay the workforce. Not only that, we have to pay for the last however many years.
Yeah. Right.
These players that didn't get paid.
By the way, there's already a lawsuit there on the back pay from women, from girls in the Title IX that came out on Wednesday. So we already have our first lawsuit with this settlement.
First of many.
Because they're demanding a lot more in back pay.
So then, like, in another aspect, they're Iowa State. So Iowa's not fighting this battle, but when the Big 12 added the Pac-12 schools, they didn't get any extra money from their TV partners for that at the time, but they had to do it. It was like a survival thing for the Big 12. So all these Big 12 schools are also making $7 million less per year from their television package than they were counting on. So they're in a huge hole because of the rev share, because of the conference thing. All this is hitting overnight. The problem lies where an Iowa spot, in theory you could say that, and that is a real argument. We didn't have any time really to ease into this thing, whatever. Do you really believe that in 3 years after this thing is, the water's calm a little bit, that they're going to be like, all right, we don't need boosters anymore. Just come to games. We're going to lower your ticket price. No, there's no way that's going to happen.
That's what I've been saying for years.
They're going to want more.
No one is, because people had suggested, well, once this revenue sharing thing comes in, then we're no longer going to ask fans for. Give me a break.
No.
Are you kidding me? It's always going to be, if the fans are willing to pay it. That's what I don't get. I'm sitting here, even if I had been someone that gave to the Swarm, I know that I was going to max out the $20.5 million no matter what I do. Why would I give a bunch of my money to do that? The athletic department is going to say, well, it's going to help us out in other ways because we'll get to make improvements to this, and this. But come on, you can make this. You make $175 million last year, and that number just keeps going up. You mean to tell me all the money that you're already getting from fans for seat licenses and all that, you've got enough. Figure it out. You might have to make some tough decisions. Maybe sports that lose a lot of money that just don't make sense have to go.
And you can still make money from boosters. Like you still have your iClub.
Absolutely, you can always give a booster can always give money to the school for improvements on whatever.
We're not arguing get away with the boosters.
The fans should have any responsibility to pay the players.
I cannot. And again, this is kind of what Bolton and I talked about. I've been obsessed with this for way too long, but this all goes back to there was a Supreme Court case in 1985 that changed everything. And I won't get into it. You can listen to the podcast with Nate. But at that point is when the NCAA and when these institutions and conferences should have started easing into this stuff. And it should have happened in the 80s, guys.
Now they're being shoved in.
Yeah. Now it's okay, you don't have any swim lessons. We're throwing you in the 10-foot. Good luck. It didn't have to be like this.
Right.
So that's where I don't have a ton of sympathy. Where I do have sympathy is it's not like Beth Getz and Jamie Pollard were in the room in 1989 when the Rose Bowl was shoving all this crap down our throat. So I do have sympathy for the people who have to clean it up, but there's just been a lot of bad actors for the last 50 years, and it's all coming to fruition right now. Good conversation. Voice
and
of
it
the
kind of
fan,
ties in
Chris Hassel
with the article that Scott Docterman wrote.
Yeah, great article.
We'll
get to that here. We'll thank our friends at Freedom Tire first. Freedom Tire, check them out. I go to one and out too. Van Winks. You need to do me a favor. Tell all of our Bondurant people about Freedom Tire in Altoona because it's locally owned.
I love it.
Tell everybody.
We had the Summerfest parade. We should have invited our friends at Freedom Tire down to the parade.
I got hammered.
Show off those tires. Yeah, what the hell?
I got hammered by my kids that they want an Iowa Everywhere float next year.
Yes, I'm fully on board. Did you see I got a picture with Fairway Frank?
I did see that. Yeah.
I also could be right next to Fairway Frank.
I saw somebody, when the National Guard comes by with their flags to start. Were you kneeling? Did I see that correctly?
No, I was holding my flag out, my little mini flag.
Oh, okay.
By the way, nobody
I'm just kidding. Van Woke wasn't kneeling. I'm just joking with him, everybody. Calm down.
Nobody caught on to the Easter egg that I dropped in that photo. If you figure it out, let me know.
Which photo?
The one of me holding the little mini flag at the parade.
Saw it.
There's a QR code. If you want to scan that, let me know what you find.
I know what you're talking about. Oh. You sick bastard. Docterman's article, the top 25 most impactful stories of the last 25 years in college football. I mean, this is very, in my opinion, Chris, subjective based on, and Scott comes at it from an industry standpoint, so it's great. Everybody, if you're an Iowa fan, you're going to look at this differently probably than an Iowa State fan as far as number one for me, just on how it impacted me on a daily basis was the Big 12 missile crisis, 2010, 2011. And I mean, I would make an argument. Can I make this argument that changed everything in college athletics? Because had the Pac-16 become a thing where Texas, Oklahoma, I believe it was Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, had they gone to the Pac-12, think about how different the world would look right now.
Wow. Yeah.
Because that would have been a monster television-wise. UCLA, the Pac-12 schools are not in the Big Ten. Texas and Oklahoma are not in the SEC. The Big 12 doesn't exist at this point. Iowa State would have been in the Big East with Kansas. You should buy my book when it comes out. Good chapter on that. Like I know that the playoff and the portal and NIL are all like bigger stories like now, but think about how that would have changed everything had Larry Scott and the Pac-12 pulled that off back then. We would be looking at a completely different landscape now.
Well, my number one, and I thought about this before I even opened up the article and read it and saw how Scott did it in his rankings, because you can kind of piece it out where, yeah, okay, the Big 10 missile or Big 12 missile crisis is one thing. Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC is another thing. The Pac-12 dissolving is another. But I put it all together, like just realignment, period.
Yeah.
I think had the most impact of anything that's happened in the last 25 years. When you piece it all together, realignment to me, for me, has had more of an impact on my enjoyment and my love for college football than anything else. It's close with with NIL, pay for play. Like that's a really close number 2. But realignment for me has just done more, because I mean, you go back to 2000, because he went back 25 years, and it was laid out about as good as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had the biggest conference had 12 teams. Big 12, SEC. They had 12 teams. The Big 10 had 11. The Pac-10 only had 10. ACC 9, Big East 8. Miami was in the Big East. Virginia Tech was in the Big East.
Mm-hmm.
Teams like Houston and Cincinnati and Louisville, they were in Conference USA. Conference USA was a player back then.
It was fun league.
Boise was in the Big West. I mean, that so much has changed. And Rutgers and Maryland get added to the Big Ten, and it just starts to pull apart the fabric of what my fandom and enjoyment was built on. And are you asleep?
No, I was just reading a text.
What the
I have a watch.
Why was
I was reading a text on my watch.
God.
Came through. I'm listening.
Sorry, I'm boring you there.
I found this on the web.
So, okay, enough of that. So,
well, you distracted me.
I would go just realignment as a whole as the number one impact for me over the last 25 years.
And you would really, say in a negative tone.
All negative for the most part.
Yeah.
All negative. And that sucks. And then right after that, it's the pay for play. And I think I have to piece pay for play and the transfer portal together. And you know what? It's close. Like you could flip realignment
they are together.
I'm just saying you could argue that pay for play transfer portal together is number one. Maybe it is, but it doesn't impact me on like a daily basis. I think like realignment does, and looking at what the Big 12 has become and the Pac-12 is gone, and you know, teams, these lower conferences are just grasping like, let's get Jacksonville State. We're going to get Jacksonville State and Kennesaw State in here in Conference USA. We no longer have Cincy and Houston. But I don't think you can really separate pay for play and the transfer portal, because I think they are one. Why are all these players going into the transfer portal? Because they want to make more money elsewhere, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You've got some guys that just didn't like their situation, some guys that just didn't cut it and are going to drop down. But I think for the most part, the big boys that hit the transfer portal, it's all money, pay or play. So I think those are the top two stories in any way you cut it over the last 25 years. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I would. I kind of. And then I had the playoff.
The playoff would be 3.
Right? Yeah.
The playoff would be 3.
before all of this.
And I think the playoff initially was a really good thing. Like I had always been calling for a playoff. I like that we have a playoff. I think we're making it too big.
It's all money. Yeah, we all know that.
I kind of like where we're at right now with 12 teams. I don't want to make it any bigger. It's gonna get bigger.
Well, it's just like the NCAA basketball. Like nobody really wants that to expand, but they're gonna do it anyways because they see.
Except the big conferences and the big conference coaches, because it's gonna create more job security.
It's all money.
It's gonna give them an opportunity because what happened? You're a shitty regular season coach, but you go on one run in a tournament, and all of a sudden you get a 5-year contract extension. You're gonna have more of an opportunity to do that.
Well, that and then they can. They all get bonuses when they go to NCAA tournaments and like it was like that play-in game, the play-in round. I remember like Iowa was one of the first teams to play in that, weren't they?
Uh-huh.
And that was the whole debate. Did they make the tournament? Technically. I mean, yeah.
They made the field of 68.
Yeah. Well, now it's like,
but they did. But the first round doesn't begin until the round of 64. That is the first round.
So, yeah, I had the playoff just because if you think back to a day prior to the big rounds of, so think about like 2008, 2007, the big debate was the playoff. Like that was what we talked about. Like why are we still doing these bowl games? Why are we doing this BCS thing that, remember like nobody was watching the BCS games at the end of it? They were on like Tuesday nights and they had them all like, oh, the Orange Bowl's on a Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, it's like because it was just clearly just made for television, and they ruined New Year's Day. Yeah, I think we're in lockstep with this. There are other fun ones, and I think we should maybe even review this. Maybe we do this on Monday, like the non-business college sports stories, because like a fun one that I looked back at was like Tebow Mania.
Yeah,
you had it like you forget about that.
That was on here. That was. Just for to let everybody know kind of how Scott divvied this up. The number one story is the settlement, basically. NCAA is not above the law. The players are going to share in this. Number two was the wide open transfers. You can just transfer whenever you want, wherever you want, however many times you want. And number three was the Pac-12's demise. Mm-hmm. So he split up. Realignment wasn't just one thing in this. It was, the different. The Big 12 had theirs. The Pac-12 had theirs. Big 10 and SEC benefiting from, some of these breakups. Big East goes away in football. God. Oh my God.
Cheers to the freaking weekend. Let's raise our glass of Steeple Ridge Bourbon.
Cheers to the freaking weekend with our friends from Steeple Ridge Bourbon. I have a feeling I know what your weekend's going to be like. You be watching the U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm.
Which you want to go long on, I know. I'm going to be dance weekend for Matt and I. Got dance recitals.
Glad I'm not you.
Yep, going to do that. Got softball, just straight dad mode on Father's Day weekend for me. I know you wanted to go long, courtesy of our friends at Wealth Charter Retirement and Tax. I'm going out to lunch with Tim next week, so looking forward to that.
It's time to go long with Wealth Charter Retirement Planning and Tax.
Retirement, you can never start too early. Think about it. Support good people who support us here at Iowa Everywhere, our friends at Wealth Charter Retirement and Tax. U.S. Open, what do you want to go on?
U.S. Open's underway. It's usually my second favorite event of the year in golf behind the Masters, but sometimes, every now and then, it's even better.
Talking about them fast greens today?
Well, Oakmont traditionally is one of the tougher courses in the world. And I just love watching the best players in the world look like normal golfers.
Yeah.
When the rough is 6 inches and the greens are slick, and it's just, you're really challenged because what do we get on a weekly basis? We get guys going 15 to 20 under par, winning a tournament. And all we show on TV are the leaders who are playing well. The U.S. Open is one of the rare times where we get to see the best players in the world, even on top of the leaderboard, completely struggling and getting pissed and thinking things are unfair. That is the regular golf experience for the rest of us.
Yeah.
This is one of the few times that we get to see the best struggle, because we rarely get to see that because they're so good. Colin Morikawa went up on a practice round. I think it's the 8th hole, par 3 8th hole at Oakmont, and it's 300 yards. He walked up to the tee box and asked his caddy, do you think we should go for the green here, or do we just lay up? He thought it was a par 4. Like, he was surprised to learn that it was a par 3. It's stuff like that I just love. I hate seeing majors where 15 under par wins it. I hate that. I want to see even par should be a great score. Even par should give you a chance to win the tournament at the U.S. Open. And I think as long as the rain doesn't impact things too much and slow things down, I think even par might end up being in the running for a victory this week.
Well, I was watching bright and early this morning, and the green speeds, they kept, like, whatever the number is that they assigned to them. It's like twice as fast as like normal on a lot of these like spots and stuff like a normal green that they play on. They were, whoever the commentators was, they were going. Beyond me, I'm not a golf guy, but it was fun already watching that. So no, I'm excited, and I don't watch a lot of golf anymore, but I will definitely keep an eye on this one. I do find it that our guy Scotty Scheffler is such a massive favorite, like a Tiger Woods era favorite. Like, seems to me like a bad bet, only because of what you're talking about, like how hard this course is going to be. I mean, it feels like a bit of an equalizer. Am I wrong? The way I'm analyzing that?
He's around plus 240 or so to win the tournament.
That's insane.
It's the shortest odds anyone has had at a major in over 15 years. Tiger Woods, 2009, was the last time there were odds this short. And Tiger was that short in every single major in 2009. He didn't win any of them. So they were bad bets. And we know Tiger didn't win a major from 2008 all the way until whenever that was, 2019, that he won the Masters. I'm sorry
that the data can say whatever they want, like that Scheffler is playing against better competition than Tiger was. Like, whatever.
No, he's not.
And there's got to be something.
In majors, yes. In majors, I can buy it.
Absolutely. I'm saying like on a week-to-week basis.
But yeah, no way.
Well,
no way.
And then there's just no like depth to that field, like where you feel like, oh, this guy's going to make a run at me. Like, right? Like there's not like that dog that you're worried about when you go in on Sunday and you're Scheffler. So it does, while I hate this for golf, and it is definitely taken away from my interest in the sport as a whole, it does make this weekend more interesting to me.
It makes the majors more interesting because you've got everybody. And Bryson DeChambeau is the only other player that's shorter than, I think, 14-1 to start it. He was 7-1. He's the defending champion at the U.S. Open. And I would expect him to compete again.
Good stuff. Matty Van Winks, give us your cheers to the weekend. What do you got planned other than you just doing dad stuff?
Well, yeah, we got the big dance weekend, so
big dance weekend.
Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everybody.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day, you guys.
Yeah, well.
Cheers to all the dads out there.
Have fun dancing.
Oh, it's going to be wild. It's going to be, Matt, when is your recital?
I can't wait to watch you dance on the stage. I can't wait.
It's going to be a disaster.
That'll
I did meet a couple of dads at rehearsal last night who are big fans of the show.
Oh, good. So, good.
Yeah, we got all that going on. So,
well, we're sorry we had to cut it a little short today because of the StreamYard issues. And we couldn't really incorporate Van Woke as much. And Van Woke, all the stuff you you built for the show you couldn't really use because we're doing it on Zoom, but
we'll
I think
get
it was
all,
better.
We'll get it all packaged up and put on YouTube for you guys, and it'll be.
I think it's better to
similar.
just do it, get it out there, as opposed to waiting for StreamYard to try to fix that stuff and trying to do it on Friday or something.
Looks like all that's cleared up too. So hopefully by tomorrow's Murph and Andy will be back in business.
Come on out to Bondurant and join us at Founders Pub. I will be out there. Matt and I are going to be running the tech. Sounds like a hell of a tag team.
What a day that's going to be for Keith, because then it's going to be the second happy hour with Keith and Jenny. The first one was a massive success.
It was fun, wasn't it?
Massive.
I told Keith, I go, it's the Jenny era. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He knew this was going to be a big thing, and people love Jenny, and it's just going to keep getting better. And we had so many people, and I think new people that maybe will watch some of our other shows because Jenny's bringing in this new demographic, because I think we're only about 0.002% female in our listenership. No, I'm just kidding.
I've been doing this a long time, not just Iowa everywhere, but like the demographic shift, like with females who take in sports content, at least like my sports content that I've seen, is drastically different now compared to what it was when we started. There's so many women listening now, where at the start it really wasn't.
Bring on the femininas.
Yeah. All right. He is Chris Hassel. My name is Chris Williams. We are presented as always by our friends at Fairway Meat and Grocery. Maddie Van Winkle produced today's show. As always, please like, subscribe, review, do all that good stuff. And we will be back on Monday here on Iowa Everywhere.